Right. So we really wanted this to be an opportunity for us to gather feedback and input from both educators and students about the use of assistive technology. And these are just some examples. By all means, there is so much more out there. I'm sure there's people in the meeting today that can share their own experiences, and we welcome you too. But I feel so happy to connect. So right now in Madison, we have some robots that we are using to support students who are homebound, who have never been in the school setting, but are working on and accessing school remotely. And so a lot of these, some of these comments are from those recent experiences, but being happy to connect. I wish I knew about AT sooner. How many times have we heard people say, oh my gosh, like this has opened up so many doors trying this communication device with this student. I had no idea how easy it could be. Sometimes I think people think of, when we think about in the past when we would create visual schedules or boards, we always had to reinvent from scratch, right? And now there are so many great resources out there that have templates, that have core boards already set up for us, so we don't have to do all the legwork and thinking about it. We have some really great research that's already backed up into starting some of these tools. I didn't realize I already had that on my Chromebook. So I don't know how many students are like, "Oh my gosh, I can use the Zoom features. Like I can use text to speech and on-screen keyboard. There's so many tools on here I can use." And then one thing that I've heard a lot lately is I finally feel like I'm able to participate. That is via a couple students who have been homebound for many, many years and have been receiving homebound services, and with our robots in our district now feel that they can participate at school, which is just really, really been an awesome experience. So anyway, if anyone has other stories or thoughts or comments, feel free to share them in the chat or unmute yourself. It can be the
People are
pros and
writing.
the
We can go that next slide there,
okay.
Anna, while people are writing. So these are some notes that I gotten from parents. They can now fully express his thoughts with assistive technology. And for parents, when you have a child you always think your child is really intelligent and they can do lots of wonderful things. But when teachers tell you repeatedly they can't write, they can't do this, to give them assistive technology and they're able to express their thoughts, it's just an amazing thing. And another parent said what an amazing difference it made. That was actually in reference to a child that we worked with years ago that was finally able to get a power wheelchair. And we did a lot of trials with that. And she was able to move herself from one point to the other. And it was just an incredible experience for her. Without this, he would have continued to struggle. I think we hear that so often from parents that why didn't we do this earlier? And sometimes it's because it wasn't available. Sometimes it wasn't the right thing yet. Kids do mature and they change. And of course the technology we're using with them should change. I'm sure there are others who are on tonight who have stories about they started with one piece of technology with a child and years later it totally changed. And it actually it should when you think about it, because that child's needs should change. And I certainly hope that their goals and objectives have changed as that child has matured. So again, remember this always goes back to that goal and objective that the student is working on. They might also say that we had a parent say that it was life altering technology, that it just made the difference between someone seeing their child as just something in a wheelchair. And that was a direct quote from a parent, that my child is not just something in a wheelchair, that this technology was life altering. She now has a voice. She now has the ability to move herself and to actually be an active participant instead of this passive participant. Anyone else have something they'd like to share, a note from a parent about technology? So far, no, Anna. We do want to share with you some additional resources too. We have right now, we're working on a micro credentialing program, And I'll put that into the chat too, so you can see what that looks like. And with our micro-credentialing program, we have the ability for you to gain information for free and then to submit that information to us. And then you can receive a digital badge. And if you receive 7 digital badges, you get a micro badge or a macro badge, sorry. So it's kind of exciting for us. We have over 100 people signed up for this at this point in time for different badges. And we have several people who have already received some of their badges. Basically, how it works is you go to this webpage. You can look at the process there. It's pretty easy. You sign up for the micro-credentialing. You actually then go to the ATEM modules and you'll sign up for those. And then as you go through, Anna, can you click on, let's do the academic one down on the bottom. There you go, great. And then you're going to click the criteria sheet. And when you're there, all you're going to need to do, can you increase the size of your screen just a tad there? What you'll be doing then is you're going to go through each of these sections in the ATEM module. So like automatic speech recognition, and there's a pre and a post test. When you're finished, therefore, we're going to have a little evidence that you did this. So we'll have that evidence. So you click off the boxes that you did, paste the evidence down below. And then when you go down a little bit further, we just want a few action phases. You know, what are you doing with the information that you've received, and how are you going to be using that information? And then in the bottom, we just want you to reflect a little bit about that. And once that's done, you're going to, or it says, be sure to submit this link. There's a click here. You're going to submit that back to us in another Google form. And it comes to Stacy and I, we look it over, and you'll get your micro credential. It isn't very difficult, but what we're really wanting to do is for people to get more information about assistive technology and to learn as much as they can. Our other one that we have there as a resource for everyone is the Center for Parents. This is a great resource if you've not taken a look at this. It really talks about in very plain, simple language. And I'm not saying that parents don't have a good understanding. It's just that it's a new world. You know, when you walk into an IEP, there's too many things. Too many things for the parents to remember. We did have a question: how long does each module take to complete? Most modules, they say like about an hour to an hour and a half for each module to complete. It really kind of depends upon how quickly you read. If you are a fast reader, you're going to get through them a little bit faster. So you could really rack up some badges in a very short amount of time. Thanks for that question, Andrea. The next one down there, the other resource we have there is we have AT in the IEP. If you want to click on that one, Anna. This is a great document. If you've never seen this, this is a wonderful document that was put together that just really goes through what is it, you know, what agencies are in there, what's a supplementary service, you know, what is a measurable goal. So it really kind of goes through all the information that both parents and teachers really need about assistive technology in the IEP. It's a great little document. Let's see. Yep, Wisconsin DPI. So this is the Department of Public Instruction. This is their website that also talks about what is the federal law for assistive technology, in case you've not looked at that. Now, we've really kind of talked ad nauseum about that, but it's in there in case you need that. We just want to make sure people have the resources. Talks about funding, and then of course our Assistive Technology Forward project, which we are all excited about. The lending libraries are all there. There's a research article that I put in here. I just thought this was very interesting. AT for reading for students with high incidence. It's really a unique article because oftentimes this is something that I'm hoping we can have a little bit of a discussion about. Is that when you sit down to talk about assistive technology in the IEP with other people, oftentimes you're going to come across people that will say, wait a minute, I want my kid to be able to read on their own. And if you remember, when we talked about in the beginning, there's a big difference between that accommodation and that remediation. But as educators, you need to have this kind of information in your pocket so that you're able to discuss this with your parents, because it talks about 90% of the students with learning disabilities have significant difficulties in literacy. So while we're working on that remediation, we have to continue to accommodate them. Otherwise, there's going to become this gap that's going to get larger and larger and larger. And the more that we give assistive technology to students, the more likely they are to be able to do well in Reg Ed courses. So it's just a great article. Does anybody want to just have any other thoughts on this? I'm sure that people have had these conversations. I can't believe I'm the only one that's ever had them in an IEP where a parent says, don't do this, Hey, Melanie, can you tell me a little bit more about your comment and not shut down? Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm just saying it's sad to watch kids give up because they're still learning to read and reading to learn all at the same time. And that can be super difficult. So if we can't accommodate for reading difficulties by giving them the assistive technology while still giving them access to grade level content, then we don't see that shutdown, that giving up, which breaks everybody's heart.
So true. And you and I saw that in lots of cases. Absolutely.
Couple of times.
It's just a few, Mel. But it is so true. But we have to have that information in our back pocket to be able to talk to people about that we've seen kids that if we don't give them something, they're not going to be able to produce. How many kids I had who were like, they can't write. And the first time I give them voice to text and they're like, oh, there's words on the page. What I said, it's actually, I have something to hand in like any other kid. It's just wonderful to have that. A couple other people, let's see, Aaron said, this is also great information to share with general ed. Yeah, teachers who might think AT is not fair. Oh, have we had that conversation before, right? Yeah. Oh, Mike, you got a comment?
I must tell you something. On Saturday, I was at a restaurant. I was walking out and a family stopped me. I thought to myself, I don't want to talk to anyone, but my mother talked to them. Their son is getting a device and they wanted to know if will he be able to talk to us.
You mean, would he be able to use his verbal speech?
No.
Or to use his AAC device to talk? Yeah, I've heard that one before too. People don't realize once we give them access to language, if you were at the last COP meeting, Lydia, who is a user of assistive technology, who was part of Mike's group too, who uses an Audcom device, she said one of the greatest things that people did for her when she was young was to read to her and give her the power of words and language, because then she learned to be able to read and then she could express her thoughts with an AAC device because someone took the time to teach her to read and to spell. And that about broke my heart. It was like, oh my gosh. But those are the things that we need to do. Children with cerebral palsy may never learn to be as articulate with their voices as everyone else's, but they can be so articulate with their devices. It is still their voice. It is still their ability to say what they need to say. I think that's what you were getting at, Mike. Yep. Awesome. And I'm glad that you were able to have that conversation. The last resource I have down there too is I found this one just the other day. It's called Discover Your AT. This was part of our the quality indicators of assistive tech. This came out. This I thought was kind of a cool thing. Again, we're talking about a feature match. So if you go down to where it says find our assistive technology, you can click on that. And I can put this I'll put this in the chat. And then the first thing it says, what is your interest? What do you like to explore? So like if we want to do reading and magnification, and let's do writing, you can pick 3. There's some interesting choices in here too. And then you go to the next question. And then they say, what's your current device? And if you don't know, you can click on, I don't know, but you can do Chromebook. Let's do Chromebook and iPhone and Microsoft tablet. And then you hit next. And then are you a Microsoft Office? Are you a Google account, or you don't know? We'll pick Google because we're pretty Google people, right? And now it'll start to give you your results. So here's your accessibility, your Chrome Web Store accessibilities. And it tells you like the price, if it's on a Chromebook, how I can dictate. I thought this was just like a cool kind of a thing. But again, now this has got to go back to, again, a feature match. So if you can't, what is assistive technology supposed to do with the student? You know, if the student can't write, how do we need to get how can we get their thoughts down on paper? So then you're looking for not necessarily the devices, but the how-tos, you know, the features that are going to match. So I thought this was kind of interesting.